This is part one of a presentation which I did for the clients of Screen Pages in London in September 2010. I'm going to talk to you today about listening to your customers. Of course, the joke here is that for the next few minutes I'm going to be doing nothing but talking and very little listening. But my email address is on the last slide, and I live and breathe this stuff, and I'm always happy to talk to people about it or answer questions about it. And you can also, of course, grab me afterwards if you wish. The reason that I think listening to your customers is important is because the web has always been a two-way communications channel. And if you give people a chance, the opportunity, they'll be very generous with their time, they will tell you things. And the advantage of listening to people when they tell you things is that unlike tools like Google Analytics, where you're trying to work out why something happened, if you listen to what people have to say, they will tell you what they were trying to do. They will give you their opinions on why it went wrong and suggestions about what you can do to put it right. So unlike the systems like Google Analytics, where you have to take ages accumulating data and then ages analyzing it, and at the end of it you're not quite sure what to do, if you listen to your customers, you get a great shortcut. You get virtually almost instant results. You can get some insight, and if you're lucky and you pay attention properly, you'll get some actual action points about what to fix. And I'm going to talk today about some of the tools you can use to do that. I'm also going to talk about tips and techniques for working with those tools, and in particular processes for working with the output that you get from them, the comments that your customers make, for example, in order to be sure that you actually do extract those insights and do gain the actionable, things, information about things to fix. So you really do shortcut the process. I'm going to be talking about several types. So I'm going to show you one that's very quick, an instant do it now type test, the thing to do. One that's particularly powerful in the long term, one that you already have, and we will also touch on some of the social media stuff at the end if we get a time. I'll start with the one which is my sort of first great take home from today. This is the one that you can do really, really quickly and surprisingly cheaply. User testing videos are, you use these systems, there are two up on the screen there, one from a company called What Users Do, who are based in the UK, one from a bigger company in America called usertesting.com. What both of these do is allow you to pay people effectively to go and look at your site and perform tasks that you specify. And while they're doing so, what happens on their screen is recorded. You get to see where their cursor goes, what they type, what they click. And they also record a commentary, a voice commentary, so you can hear what they have to say. In the case of usertesting.com, they also give you a written summary at the end of it. Now I'm going to showing you examples of this is always a little bit difficult because I have to find something which isn't actually a client site. I don't think it would be fair on my clients to actually show people using their sites. So I've had to scrabble around and find a few excerpts from other tests that I've performed for other reasons.
I'd like to see perhaps the cover of the box so I could see what it would look like as a gift. Unless you knew what all the, I mean, V is quite straightforward. Presumably that's a nut. Unless you knew what all that meant, you would be clicking on the read more. So it sort of defeats the object of having the symbols, maybe. Okay, now from here, where do I go? Do I just hit enter? Because normally I would expect create new account button or something here, which there isn't one. Ah, here we are. Sorry, being a bit slow there. So no, I want to register a new account. So log in and check out, which I'm not doing. I'm registering for a new account, but I get the idea.
There, did you see what happened at the end there? Most of us would sort of have said that was a fairly standard Amazon style checkout, and yet this tester was she was expecting a button to be where there wasn't a button, and she was also quibbling and slightly confused over the text of one of the calls to action. It was also interesting to see that she, as a paid tester, coped with this and was going to carry on. But in real life, that's a fairly good clue that some people would actually be so confused that they might not complete the purchase. Earlier in those, you saw somebody raising a very, very interesting point, which is if you're selling a product which is likely to be given as a gift, then the presentation of the product and what it looks like is just as important as what's in it. And it's interesting to note that up on the screen there you can see a product shot from the same site in which you can see the box. And it so happens that the product picture that the customer was looking at when she was going to make a decision to buy was one where you couldn't see the box. So that's a very, very interesting insight. Another very, very common failing appeared in those, which is one of the sites was using lots of little icons to denote various facets of the product. But only one of them was instantly understandable to the person testing the site. The others were a source of confusion. They might perhaps might as well not have been there, or you could even say that they were adding friction. So I think these are really, really interesting form of tests to do. I'll give you a couple of tips about how to do them. One of them is usertesting.com is the main site that offers this service. They're based in the USA, so when you're configuring a test with them, the obvious thing you must do is go and specify in the demographics that you only want people from the UK to test the site. That's fairly obvious. The other one I would recommend is, unless it's completely inappropriate, I would actually select for female testers rather than leaving it open. If you leave it open, in my experience, and I've done quite a few of these, if you get blokes testing your site, they tend to be at the geeky end of the spectrum, or certainly come across that way. Now the risk with that is not just that they may or may not be appropriate to testing your site, but the other great problem is that one of the uses of these videos is to show other people on the team or within the organization what's going on the site. And as soon as if they detect that these people testing the site are in some ways not appropriate in that way, then you're going to undervalue the site. They'll devalue the test. They'll lose a bit of credibility. So I'd suggest choose UK, but also choose female. Another good thing to do when you're doing user testing videos is to actually get people to do comparison tests. WhatUsersDo.com has a system built in where you pay a little bit extra and you can specify 2 sites for people to go to and there to compare them. I tend to use usertesting.com more, and what I do there is I get the tester to go to a page that I've put up somewhere on a blog or whatever, which contains 3 anonymous links or 4 anonymous links to different sites, one of which is probably the client site, my site, and then I get people to click through those as a way of comparing the different sites. Now this form of test can be very, very illuminating. There's the obvious thing of how do you compare to your rivals, what are your strengths, what are their strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are their weaknesses. The other actual little bonus you get is you get a good assessment of the relative speeds of your different sites, and that in its own can be a real eye-opener. Let's have a quick look at what the type of thing you might see there.
Oh, brilliant, you do PayPal. I'm happy. I would most definitely use this service because you do PayPal. I wonder if the others did it. Let's just have a quick look. Delivery, payment. Right. Okay. This company don't do PayPal, so I might use them, but if it's a straight choice between this company and this company, because this company use PayPal, I'd use them.
Wow, did you see that? Both sites actually accept PayPal, but because on one of them it was not nearly as obvious that PayPal was an acceptable form of payment, the customer was going to go somewhere else. I bet you the people on the second site would be saying, but we do PayPal, we do PayPal. As far as the customer was concerned, You didn't. What an easy thing that would be to fix. So my simple first take home from today's session is rush out tomorrow, today, well, it's going to have to be tomorrow, and commission some of these testings you're testing yourself. Those are the two sites that do it. Usertesting.com is the smaller and newer one in the UK. Usertesting.com is the main one that I use a lot. What users do, I have used a few times. It's a newer UK-based one. Give both a try. I would put one health warning on this. This is no substitute for formal usability testing. That's a whole different ball game, much more elaborate, much more expensive, much more thorough, and gives you much better results. But this is a great way of starting the process of getting some insight. So this is my number one quick tip for something that you need to do straight away. In part 2, I'll talk about using surveys to listen to the actual voice of your customers.